On today's edition of Dolphins Today, we take a look at the latest Mel Kiper NFL mock draft. He went 2 rounds for ESPN, so we're going to break down the Dolphins picks, who they made, or the pick that they made, who was available, who wasn't available, and discuss the prospects, of course, themselves. Now, we will have tons of Dolphins draft coverage here for you with the NFL draft barely 2 weeks away. Yeah, it's getting here real close, folks. Do not miss out. Hit that sub button right now for more free Dolphins videos. The last 5, all pretty relevant, I would argue, picks for the Dolphins, or before the Dolphins got on the clock in round 1. Troy Fautanu out of Washington, Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, Byron Murphy out of Texas. That one might sting for some. Liatu Latu out of UCLA, and also Graham Barton out of Duke. Strangely enough, a player we spent time discussing yesterday was the pick at number 21 overall. It's Jared Verse, the pass rusher out of FSU, which, with a lot of the same stuff we talked about yesterday, right? Here's how Mel Kiper pitched it. Yes, Miami has Bradley Chubb and Jaelan Phillips as its top edge rushers, but both are coming off serious season-ending injuries. Phillips tore an Achilles in late November, while Chubb tore an ACL in early January. There's no guarantee either is 100% when training camp starts. That's why the Dolphins could take Verse, who has impressive power in his 254-pound frame. His 50 pressures last year were the 8th most in the FBS. Miami has to replace a few starters after offseason subtractions, but Verse would be a no-brainer selection if he's still on the board. I actually don't know if he'd be a no-brainer selection for Miami. I myself have a late first cheater, second round grade on him at this time. But what do you think? Do you want to draft Verse in round 1, specifically if that's how the board fell? Why for yes and for no? It is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Y or N. Now, we actually have Verse at 62 pressures. That's per PFF. Maybe Mel's using ESPN's college info or sports info solutions, whatever. The production was fairly stable this past year. My big issue for Jared Verse is all you see, 9 pressures, and the pressure rate actually did go up by about a percentage, is there were still very streaky in games. You know, those 9 sacks he had, they came in 4 games total. He was a bit feast or famine in that Florida game. He won it for him down the stretch. He was incredible in the final, basically, quarter of the game. I think there is room to be a better run stopper. I think he tends to leave his shoot gaps a little bit more than I'd like, misses too many tackles. But this is a really good athlete whose production got better when he left Albany and went to Florida State. That's actually kind of unusual because it's a very different level of competition. He's not the same elite, crazy, nutty athlete that Jadeveon Clowney is, but I think the overall end game could be pretty similar, of like being a very good number 2 pass rusher. You know, Kayvon Thibodeau, athletic comp, is pretty similar as well. I will make note that he allegedly put on 40 pounds during COVID due to putting a home gym. I don't know if that passes the smell test for me. That seems a little bit suspicious. But hey, the athletic ability is very impressive, and he does generate speed to power pretty well in the way you want your edge rusher to do. My other issue is, you know, when we get to December, he's edge 3. Is that the prop? When you're probably not going to go for Phillips and Chubb in the near future. So your first round pick is the number 3 edge. I'm down to add one. I just don't know if it needs or should be your first round selection. The downside was the board didn't really fall your way. You know, top guys left. The interior O-line class is pretty picked over. It's Jackson Powers-Johnson. Johnny Newton out of Illinois is there, who I like his game a lot. I actually like him more than Byron Murphy. I think I'm different than most people there, but I would love that pick. You want a receiver? Xavier Worthy, Brian Thomas Jr. are there. You want a different style defensive tackle? Darius Robinson, that's too early for me, is on the board as well. Maybe with the way the board fell, a trade down could make a lot of sense for Miami. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. You can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. And as I'm sure many of us know, tickets do tend to drop as the event, whatever you're going to, sports, comedy, theater, music, etc., they tend to drop as the event ends up getting closer. And now you can take the guesswork out of it, not have to worry about not finding tickets or worrying about did I get the best deal or not. Game Time has you covered. The Game Time guarantee means you will always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Marlins games are pretty darn cheap right now. Raptors Heats could be a little bit more expensive as Miami tries to kind of finalize that playoff push there. Marlins are not very good, but hey, there are worse ways to spend, $20 total and head down the ballpark, which, by the way, Game Time's giving you $20 when you use promo code CHATSPORTS over at gametime.co. That's CHATSPORTS, ChatSports, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but check the comment section and the description of today's show for the link at gametime.co and the promo code CHATSPORTS. All right, some notable picks here in the second round. A bunch of defensive tackles off the board here in a quick little run. Chris Jenkins, Rook Orororo, and Braden Fisk all gone. Receiver, Jaelan Polk is gone. Patrick Paul, if you want a developmental left tackle behind Teron Armstead, also off the board. For what might end up being, I think, a pretty popular second-round mock draft pick for Miami, it's Christian Haynes, the offensive guard out of UConn. He was a right tackle basically exclusively at UConn. That happens to be the big need for Miami. I totally get the connection there from Mel Kiper. So grade that mock draft, the two-round mock draft for the Dolphins and Mel. A, B, C, D, or F. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comments section. Here's the pitch from Mel. Miami has faced some upheaval along the offensive line this season, creating a hole at guard. The Dolphins ranked 31st in pass block win rate, 49.2%, so change could be good. Haynes started 49 games at guard in college, and he allowed just one sack over his final 3 seasons. He's my number 3 player, ranked player, I should say, at the position. I will make note that we're using PFF numbers. Mel's numbers are different. Whatever sack he's getting them from. I got a sack this year, 0 sacks last year, 2 sacks in 2021, but we're not talking that much difference there. Very good run blocker. This is a powerful player with the starting experience that shows through. He was a 4-year starter and the first ever FBS All-American for UConn in program history. Also had a weird bad game against James Madison. I was kind of confused by that one. He's not the power's good, but I think there are still times he plays more finesse than maybe he has to. He tested very well, which I think answers maybe some concerns if there were any about the athletic ability. I kind of got that second, third round grade on him, that cheater grade that I like because I'm a coward. We're back in round 2. That makes sense. In theory, Haynes would be a plug-and-play option for Miami at the right guard position. They'd plop him in and have him set up and good to go over Robert Jones, over Lester Cotton, and I have a cost-controlled starting caliber offensive lineman under contract for 4 years if everything goes according to plan. Some other players who were on the board for Miami in round 1 that maybe they could consider, Zach Frazier was there. Now, I don't know if I could trust him to play a different guard, but I like him as a better player than Christian Haynes. But you have a center, which is Flip Aaron Brewer. I don't know. Javon Bullard, I don't know if he's a nickel or a safety. Maybe a bit of both. But I think a not very good safety class, frankly. I think Bullard in round 2 is a viable option. I actually like Cooper Beebe more than Christian Haynes, but Beebe, I think, fits better at left guard. He did do a little bit at right guard, but spent most of his time on the left side. Pure offensive lineman. I like him a little bit more, but to fit the right guard spot, I get it with Haynes there. If you want the tackle piece, Kingsley Suamataia is an option. A kind of thin defensive tackle group with the way the board fell for Miami. Michael Hall Jr. out of Ohio State, who has shown impressive flashes, but has not played consistently and not been a reliable, impactful piece. Was kind of a heavy rotation guy at OSU, but the impact's really intriguing. He was also on the board there in round 2.